Okay, let's talk about Greenland, but probably not the Greenland you're picturing. Forget the travel brochures for a second. We're looking at a huge, frozen island that has somehow become the dead center of a new global power struggle. And believe me, this is about way more than just ice. We're talking military power, a hidden treasure of resources, and literally redrawing the map of world trade.
So you've got to ask yourself, right, how did an island that's covered in ice, 2 kilometers deep, where it can hit -30 Celsius, suddenly become the hottest piece of real estate on the planet? Because it's not just the US. You've got China funding mines and airports there, calling itself a near-Arctic state. You've got Russia reopening old Soviet military bases all over the Arctic. So why are they all rushing to this one spot? Well, the answer is a lot more complicated, and honestly, a lot more important than you might think. First off, to really get what's at stake, you have to wrap your head around the sheer size of this place. We're talking over 2 million square kilometers. It's a country-sized island that makes most actual countries look tiny. It's just an absolutely enormous piece of the planet. But now, look at this. The population is just 57,000. That's it. That's less than you'd find in a small city, all living on a tiny strip of coast. And this incredible imbalance between all that land and so few people, well, that's the core of the Greenland paradox. And this paradox, this giant, strategically located and practically empty landmass, is exactly what's put Greenland on the radar of world powers for more than 100 years. But lately, one country has been, let's say, a lot louder about its interests than others: the United States. Yeah, this whole thing really exploded into the headlines when former President Trump just came right out and said he wanted to acquire Greenland, maybe even with military force. It was blunt. But here's the crazy part. While the tone was new, the ambition itself was anything but. See, this isn't just about a recent headline. America's interest in Greenland is a deep, strategic obsession that goes back more than 150 years, and it all boils down to one simple real estate mantra: location, location, location. And they have been trying for a long time. The US first tried to buy Greenland way back in 1867, the same year it bought Alaska. They tried again in 1910. After World War II, President Truman offered $100 million in gold. That's billions today. And every single time, Denmark, which governs Greenland, gave the same polite answer: thanks, but no thanks. So why the obsession? Well, just look at a globe. Greenland is parked right on the shortest flight path for any missile flying between Russia and North America. It is the perfect spot for a missile defense shield. That's why the US runs the massive Thule Air Base there. It's a critical early warning radar station. And with Russia building up its own military presence in the Arctic again, for the Pentagon, losing that foothold is just unthinkable. But that raises the obvious question, doesn't it? The US military is already there. So what's the big emergency? Why the aggressive push right now? Well, it turns out that the old security concerns are now just one piece of a much bigger and, frankly, much more profitable puzzle. And this brings us to the second reason for all the fuss: a modern-day gold rush. Because hidden under all that ice is one of the last, great, untapped treasure chests on Earth, full of the minerals that are going to power the entire 21st century. To understand why this is so critical, just look at this chart. Right now, China controls about 90% of the world's supply of rare earth elements. And these aren't just some boring rocks. They are the essential ingredient for all modern technology, and China has a near total monopoly. And Greenland is sitting on a jackpot. We're talking about neodymium for the powerful magnets you need in every electric car and wind turbine. We're talking gallium for advanced AI chips, not to mention uranium, silicone, and potentially over 30 billion barrels of oil. For the US, getting access to this isn't just about money. It's a national security mission to break China's chokehold on the tech of the future. But as important as military bases and rare minerals are, they still are not the biggest prize. We now get to the most important and least talked about reason for this global obsession with Greenland. The ultimate prize isn't something you have to dig for. No, it's something that climate change is slowly and unstoppably revealing to the world: a brand new superhighway for global trade. For all of human history, the Arctic was a frozen dead end. But as the ice melts, a new shortcut is opening up: the Northwest Passage. And the numbers here are just staggering. A cargo ship sailing from Shanghai to London can cut 9,000 kilometers off its journey. That saves up to 2 weeks of travel time. This isn't a small adjustment. This is a fundamental rewrite of the global shipping map. So here's the bottom line. Greenland sits right at the front door of this new maritime superhighway. The nation that controls Greenland doesn't just get an island. They get to own and operate the toll plaza for a huge chunk of future world trade. They can set the prices and decide who gets to pass. Imagine that kind of economic and political power. And all of this brings us to the very dangerous endgame. This race to control Greenland for military position, for minerals, for trade routes, is setting the stage for a major geopolitical conflict. And the consequences could be devastating. The first domino to fall would be political. We have to remember, Greenland is part of Denmark, a founding member of NATO. A forced U.S. takeover wouldn't just be a diplomatic spat. It would be an attack on a NATO ally by another NATO ally. That doesn't just strain the alliance, it could shatter it into a million pieces. The ripple effects would be enormous. First, the U.S. would become the undisputed superpower of the Arctic. Second, the trust that has held America and Europe together for generations would vanish overnight. Third, China's economy would take a massive hit as its mineral monopoly is broken. Fourth, a mad dash to mine Greenland's resources would likely trigger an ecological disaster. And finally, and maybe most importantly, the 57,000 people who actually call Greenland home could see their culture, their freedom, and their future completely erased. And so we're left with this chilling question. As the ice melts, it's revealing more than just new shipping lanes and mineral deposits. It's revealing a new arena for global conflict. The fate of this remote frozen island is going to help determine the balance of power for the entire next century. So will its future be one of peaceful cooperation, or will the fight for Greenland become the spark that ignites a new world war?